A game that will not be low scoring is USC against Colorado. Now, USC is perfect 16-0 against Colorado. And this, of course, will be the final matchup between the two before USC heads to the Big Ten. I think this is the best quarterback matchup of the weekend. You have Caleb Williams, reigning Heisman Trophy winner. I don't think I need to necessarily walk you through everything he's capable of doing. I think a lot of people have seen him play, understand what he can do. The guy is sensational. And albeit up to this point, there hasn't really been a huge platform for him. It's not really their fault. It's just they haven't really played against super quality competition up to this point. So maybe if you look at his stats, you're still blown away, but you're probably thinking, well, what about the level of competition? Which is fair. Don't worry, their schedule will strengthen. We're going to find out all we need to know about SC here in the coming weeks. But Shedeur Sanders, coming off of a disappointing performance last week, how does he bounce back? Because that game last week, albeit, yes, he was far from flawless. He didn't have a lot of help in that game against Oregon. All right, so how do we find help for Shedeur Sanders? Colorado has to run the football. They have to. And I know Shedeur's great. Their weapons are great. They have elite skill on the perimeter. But they also have elite skill at running back. And Dylan Edwards, he's going to be a star. There's no doubt about that. No, he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's a perimeter guy for sure. And the offensive line has certainly struggled. But they have 3 rushing touchdowns so far this year. All right? That's second to last. Second to last at 55.8 yards per game. They averaged less than 2 yards a carry. Now you factor in sacks. That all is a factor here in college football. But they got to run the football, because if you're not running the football, guess what the defensive ends could do? If they're not respecting the run, they'll pin their ears back and they'll come right after their quarterback. And clearly that has not been a recipe for success as far as keeping Shedeur Sanders upright throughout the course of the game. That's the next question. Can Colorado's offensive line hold up? We know that Shedeur is amazing. We know that he's played well under pressure in the past, but last week against Oregon, it was too overwhelming. I mean, 14 quarterback hurries, 7 sacks. He was basically running for his life all game. And that, I think, is something that will be an issue, because if you look at SC, they've gotten better up front. I think they've done a good job with their edge defenders. They've brought in some guys that can really play at a high level. So I think that will be something that's very, very important for Colorado as they navigate throughout this game. We know that Colorado's given up 23 sacks this year. That's 132nd out of 133 teams. They averaged nearly 6 sacks per game. And so far this year, they have 8 sacks against Arizona State last week, and they had 14 tackles for a loss. So they are getting better. And you're going to say, against who? Fair enough. I won't push back against that. Arizona State's not great. But I have seen growth in the front 7 defensively for USC as far as their attacking nature is concerned. Colorado has to manufacture some big plays. They obviously did so in weeks 1, 2, and 3. Zay Weaver is amazing. A little bit hobbled coming off the field late in the Oregon game. He leads the Pac-12 and is 4th in the country with 34 receptions, 461 yards. So if he is not at 100%, that is of concern. I'll be watching him a little bit early. Obviously, just got hurt last week, but if he can bounce back, that's a huge boost to their depth of the skill that they have at wide receiver. But if he can't go, then I would anticipate, with him being unavailable, Travis Hunter, he's saying he's playing. I don't think that's likely, but if he does, obviously massive boost. But now you're without potentially your top 2 weapons on the perimeter. Well, that means Jimmy Horn has to have a big day. And he's very, very athletic laterally, more of a slot guy that he can make you miss. If you get the ball in his hands, he's got 27 catches for 243 and a couple scores. And then one other guy that I think you need to know, Javon Antonio. He's a big body wide receiver, has been taken under his wing by Terrell Owens in the offseason. They say that his skill set resembles that of T.O., which is a pretty dang high compliment, naturally. He might be forced into maybe an increased workload. Now, he was injured early in the year, got a little burn last week at Oregon, and with those guys potentially being out, I could see him stepping up and making some opportunities for himself. I have referenced the improvements that USC has made defensively. However, they still don't tackle very well. And that has been a little bit of an issue. If you look last week, they struggled. You look at the end of last year, they struggled. They really have not done a great job as far as giving up yards after catch and giving up yards after contact. They got to do a better job tackling, because this is a group with Colorado that if you give them some space and you miss, they'll take it the distance for sure. And then the final question here is, how does Colorado stop Caleb Williams? First of all, you can't stop Caleb Williams. You can contain him, maybe, for a quarter, but you cannot stop him. It's just not going to happen. And the emergence of the SC run game is starting to really take some of the pressure off what Caleb Williams is forced to do. Marshawn Lloyd has been terrific, averaging 11 yards a carry, only 15 carries against Arizona State. A lot of people are wanting to see more. And Colorado giving up quite a bit on the ground defensively. They're giving up about 207 yards a game, about 5.5 yards a carry. So I would anticipate a heavy load of Marshawn Lloyd, which was only going to make things easier for Caleb Williams to attack downfield. They are right now the Trojan offense, number 3 in the country in total yards, and they're going against a defense that is number 128. So this is going to have to be a track meet for Colorado. USC is going to score. Can Colorado keep pace? The one thing I would say that Colorado's done a really good job of defensively up to this point is the fact that they've created a lot of turnovers. They're 5th in the country with 7 picks. They have a 1.75 turnover margin per game. That's 5th nationally. And if they're going to hang around and make this game competitive for 60 minutes, they're going to have to be +2, possibly even +3 in the turnover margin. I like SC to win this game comfortably, but I do think it's going to be a much higher scoring affair than what we saw last week by the Buffaloes against the Oregon Ducks.